Welcome to Healing with Art, the podcast where we explore how creativity transforms our emotions, our purpose, and our success. Today's episode is called Emotions on Paper. We're talking about how art becomes a visual language for what we're feeling, even when words fall short. I'll be sharing reflections from my own 100-day mini painting project and how connecting with mark making, color, and visual vocabulary can reveal powerful emotional insights. You don't need to be an artist to listen, just curious, open, and willing to explore what wants to be expressed. Have you ever sat down to create and realized your hands were saying something your mind couldn't put into words? Today, I want to talk about emotions on paper and how art becomes a visual language for what we're feeling, even when we don't have the words quite yet. This episode is inspired by a deeply personal process for me, a 100-day mini painting project that became much more than an art practice. It became a conversation with my inner world. When I started this 100-day project, I wasn't trying to make good art. I wasn't planning themes. I wasn't aiming for anything to be shared or perfect. I actually wanted this to be a 365-day project, but I was proud of myself that I showed up at least for 100 days, a little over 3 months, to create this series. I simply showed up every day with my emotions, whatever they were, and let them move through color, shape, and mark making. And what surprised me was how quickly patterns started to emerge. Some days the marks were sharp, fast, almost urgent. Other days they were soft, layered, and slow. I could see when I was holding tension, when I was processing grief, when I felt expansive or grounded. This is something that I've known for a while, that art is a visual language. I remember being in college and having to do critiques, standing in front of my work and explaining it. And I honestly found it incredibly painful. I would dread having to show my work and have to talk about it. I remember thinking, why do I have to talk about my feelings? Why isn't the work enough? There was this pressure to translate something visual and intuitive into words, to justify it, to explain it, to make it make sense to someone else. And I think that's when something really important crystallized for me. This realization, right? This realization that I didn't want to make art just to sell it, explain it, or defend it. This wasn't about making a pretty picture. I wanted the art to be about a practice, not the product. It was about showing up. It was about listening. It was about letting something move through me without needing to name it or package it. And when I let go of the need to explain my work, I actually started understanding myself more. This is why I knew I was on the right path to becoming an art therapist, because I really feel like that is the essence of art therapy. It's not about the product, even though you might like the product, but it's really about the process and showing up for your work and see what insights come back, come up for you. Because here's the thing, not everything we feel needs to be spoken, and we might not have the words for it yet, especially if we've experienced something traumatic, right? Our brain might not have processed all of the details just yet. Some emotions want color, some want shape, some want repetition, pressure, or space. And when we allow art to be a practice instead of a performance, it becomes a place where honesty can exist without explanation. This is why finding your own visual vocabulary matters so much. Yes, we often begin by learning other people's techniques, and that's part of any language. But eventually there's a moment where the question shifts from how should this look to what feels true and right for me right now. And that's where the authenticity begins. So let's talk a little bit about visual vocabulary and authenticity, because this is really something as an artist that we strive to do, right? We strive to be ourselves. Like, what does that mean? What is a visual vocabulary? And I remember when I first heard of that term of visual vocabulary, I actually hired a consultant, an art consultant, to view my work. And I wanted her opinion, what did she think was strong? Where should I put more emphasis? Again, going back to the product, right? But it was a really good conversation because she wanted to know what my signature colors, my signature mark making, like what was coming up for me, what was important, because the truth is your story does matter. Okay. And part of this process, it takes time to get that visual vocabulary, and we all have one. So even if you don't know what it is right now, I'm going to help you find out what it is. Okay. So the visual vocabulary it's made up of like the colors that you're drawn to. It's the shapes that you repeat. It's the pressure of your marks on the paper or canvas. It's the way you fill the space or you leave it empty. When you start paying attention to these things, your art begins to reflect how you're actually feeling, not how you think you should feel. And part of this process is your signature style. That's what's coming up. And you can't just do it one time, right? This is a practice. You have to do it many, many times for it to really start to resonate your voice. So when people start to say, I'm not an artist, I don't know what I'm doing, it's really not true. It's like, but your art has an emotional expression, and skill isn't the point, the honesty is. So it's not that your artwork needs polishing, it just needs some presence and some repetition, right? You got to do things more than one time. So thinking about this, I know that a lot of us will start, making art because we're learning from other people, right? Like I went to art school and I had professors and they would have us do things that they were doing in their own process. I remember I had one professor that actually painted ties and sold them. Well, not literally like the ties that you wear, but he would like hang them up on a chair, and then we had to look at them and paint them, not actually paint on top of the ties. And I just thought that was a really weird practice, but I learned something from it. I didn't want to do it, but I did learn that technique, that skill, right? So we do borrow techniques from people. Like it's like we're trying on clothing, these styles that we're trying on, and we're like, hey, is this a fit for me or is this not a fit, right? There might be artists that you've taken classes from and you love their work, and you might be taking on their style as well, right? And it's totally natural to do that. That's part of learning any language, right? You have to learn it's like learning that part of the voice, and then you get to find your own. But eventually, as you continue to do the work, right, whether you're practicing someone else's style, something will shift. And the shift will be that your voice, your touch, the amount of paint that you're putting on, the amount of pressure that you're putting on, even the subject matter will start to become yours. That's when your authentic voice begins to emerge. And finding your visual voice is something you think your way into. It's something you practice your way into it. It's through repetition, it's through curiosity, it's through allowing yourself to be imperfect. I love that. We have to make a lot of ugly art and be okay with it, right? So just like my 100-day project, the power wasn't in any like one single painting. It was about showing up again and again. And what I found with the 100-day project, even though I wasn't even calling it a 100-day project, because like I mentioned, I wanted to really do this for 360 days and it only ended up being 100 days. And I'm so satisfied with that. But that was fun. And even taking those 100 paintings, I've been putting them together and creating words, like words of the year. Last year, my words for the year were divinely guided, right? And so I got to actually create that on the wall with those little 100 paintings. These were 4x4 little paintings on paper that I attached to little wooden blocks. I gave it some weight by attaching the paper onto these wooden blocks and then arranging them on the wall. I attached them to the wall with a little like sticky gummy wall adhesive, and it came out really cool. And I'm going to do it again. I seriously am going to create my word of the year. So this year, moving into 2026, it's resonance. Isn't that a cool word? Resonance. I like that. So the resonance, I'm going to create that word on my wall and resonate with it, right? Just be with it. I'll enjoy it. So it's fun. Like what can come from doing a 100-day project? What can come from playing with mark making without any expectation, right? It's just allowing the process to unfold and see what happens, right? There's a part of me that wants to do this again, that wants to commit to what could I do 365 days? I could try again. Maybe it'll make it to 100 and that'd be all right. So if this is something that excites you, you're like, hey, I want to do this. Well, let's try it. So if you're feeling called to explore your emotions through art, I want you to know you don't have to have it all figured out, right? It's just about being curious, and you could start with one piece of paper, one color, one honest mark, right? You can do that. And it doesn't have to be anything that fancy. That's what I liked about the paper, is that you could stack up the paper and it doesn't take up that much space. Like once you get into the wood blocks, those take up space and they cost money, right? But the paper, I was just using watercolor paper, and then I actually cut them into my 4x4 squares. But you can do that. I mean, you can do it in art journal too, 100 days of an art journaling. So I invite you to practice this as well. I really, really enjoy doing this for myself, and I'd love to do this in a healing community as well. I think we, as a community, I'm proposing this to everyone to say, hey, would you like to do this and see what comes up for you? Because we all will probably have a different journey in our experience of doing it. So just remember, your emotions are already speaking. Art simply gives them a place to land, right? It gives you the visual expression of what's in your heart, what's in your mind. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and for creating. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs permission to express what they're feeling, right? And give yourself that opportunity to express what you're feeling. And if this episode resonates, go ahead and share it. And if you'd like to join me in community, you're welcome to join us in the Creative Soul Society membership. This is where we meet on a weekly basis to create art for our soul. All right. Until next time, remember, your emotions already speak, and art simply is there to support you.